What's up guys, Matt Day here, and today we are going to be taking a look at something I haven't done in many years, and that is making cyanotypes. I just found these prints in a box just a couple of days ago, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to cover this. Somehow I haven't made a video on this in the past, so this is a really fun thing. It's an alternative process of printing. It dates back all the way to the 1800s. A lot of times people use this to recreate drawings or diagrams, things like that, such as the blueprint. They're cyanotypes because they give this blue cyan kind of color, so that's where the name comes from, obviously. But it's a contact printing process, so basically you will coat your paper and put something on top of it, whether it be a negative or other physical objects like leaves, twigs, that kind of thing. Stuff like that, any kind of floral items, that's a really common thing you see with this kind of process. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and so I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you guys the way I've done this, and we're going to see what we can come up with. So cyanotypes are sensitive to UV light, such as sunlight. So this is something that you can kind of get working with under like tungsten light, under like a normal household lighting. And then whenever you want to expose it, you can either build a light box with UV light bulbs in there, or you can just take it directly out in the sun. Luckily for me, we have extremely sunny conditions today, so that's perfect for this kind of thing. Whenever you're working with overcast conditions, your exposure is going to be a lot longer, so it just takes a little bit more time. But either way, it's a lot of fun. I do think at some point it would be cool to actually build a UV light box, so that way I could print day or night, summer or winter. It might be kind of cool. I might make a cool video, just kind of like a how-to build project. So maybe we'll do that in the future. But for now, I had a photographer's formulary kit that I had from Freestyle Photo. I bought this years ago, so I was kind of curious if it would still be good, but it was still sealed up and everything, and it was kept in a dry cabinet, so I thought it's worth a shot. So the first thing you need to do is actually mix everything up, and I'm not going to go into details of how to mix everything up and exactly what everything is, because you're going to have your own kit, and that kit will come with instructions, so just use those. Don't follow me, use the instructions when it comes to actually mixing everything up. But basically, once you have everything mixed up, you are ready to coat your paper or whatever object. I've seen people do this on cloth, on all kinds of different paper, canvases. There's a lot of different things you can do, but for me, I just always want to use something that is going to be okay to get wet, because whenever you are, coating the paper, you're putting this liquid on there, but even after it dries, you're going to need to rinse that print. So having something that's going to be able to withstand water, that's a pretty important step of this. So for me, I use this watercolor paper. This is Master's Touch watercolor. It's 140 pounds, 9 by 12. I got this at Hobby Lobby. God knows when. I've got stacks of these for all kinds of different things. Cold press surface acid-free paper. I'm using 9 by 12 size sheets here. It just comes in like a little tablet, so that's the paper I'm using. For any of you paper fanatics out there and you really know all the details, that's what I've been using. And all you have to do is just coat it, and you can use a couple different methods. A lot of people use this rod where you kind of put a couple drops and then you roll this rod to evenly distribute everything. The way I like to do it is actually using a brush, so I just have like a little paintbrush that I use, and I just like the brush strokes that it gives and the rough kind of edges. I like prints that way as well, with the negative, the border edges kind of roughed up and everything. You see that a lot in dark rooms. But for me, I just like that look, so that's why I use a brush versus something like a roller. I think the roller would probably be a much cleaner look, but again, this is all just kind of personal preference. So now that we've actually coated all the paper, you have to let everything dry, and you can just let things dry on their own. You can use a blow dryer, but what's important about this is as you're coating it, you're making sure you're coating it where you're not going to have any sunlight creeping in. So if you have windows and it's daylight out, or if you're actually outside, definitely don't do that, because this is UV light sensitive. So you want to do this in a dark place, any kind of subdued light where you're not going to have any actual UV light on this. That's extremely important. So once you actually coat everything, just let everything dry, and then once it's dry, you're going to actually be ready to expose everything. So while we're letting that dry, I'm going to take this chance to go ahead and thank our sponsor today, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an amazing platform to help you learn all kinds of things, from photography, graphic design, business, social media. There's all kinds of different different things you can learn on Skillshare, and they have full-on classes with great instructors and all kinds of videos that you can do, and even assignments as well. So it's a really, really cool platform. I've used it personally, and a great thing about it is that Skillshare is actually giving you guys 2 months entirely free just for being subscribed to this channel, which is super cool. I love whenever people are able to give back to you guys for all the support. So it's a really cool thing. All you have to do is go to the link in the description to sign up and use the promo code MattDay2. That's going to get you 2 months entirely free of their entire library. But now that our paper is dry and we're actually ready to make a cyanotype, we now need an image to actually put on there, or just some kind of object to put on there. So again, like I said, there's a lot of different things you can do. I personally like to make my own negatives, so that way I can make it as big or small as I'd like. And the way I do this is with this transparency film for inkjet printers. Again, I bought this whenever I first did a cyanotype, but that was back in 2013. I've still got a big box of it left over, but this is made by 3M. It's just transparency film for inkjet printers. I'm sure there are a lot of different options out there, so you want to make sure you buy the right kind. The model number for this is CG3480, so if you're looking to buy exactly what I've got, there you go. Again, I probably paid $10 or something for this. I can't really remember, but it says on there it's universal for most printers. Its common use is for, like overhead projectors, which I don't remember the last time I saw an overhead projector. But yeah, it works really, really simple. There's a really smooth kind of glossy side, and then there's like a rough side with a texture to it. And that's the side that you're actually going to be printing on, because if you try to print it on the glossy side, the ink is not going to dry. So make sure you have it inserted correctly whenever you're doing that. But anyway, what I do is I just take an image of mine and I scan it in either as a negative, or if I've already scanned the image, I just invert it in Lightroom, so that way it gives me basically a negative. And then I print it. It's really, really that simple. All you have to do is invert the photo and then print it, and it prints out as a negative, which I have. Where are those negatives? Right here. These negatives are basically just bigger negatives of what they were actually shot on. The 2 photos I grabbed are photos that I shot with my M6 with my HP5 pushed to 1600. So I just took the images, inverted them because I already had them scanned and I didn't feel like digging through and scanning them again as negatives. So you just invert it in Lightroom. Super simple. Just basically take your curves adjustment and flip it. So you bring your white point all the way down and your black point all the way up. That's going to invert it. There's probably a button you could click to do that, but I don't know it, so there you go. Basically, though, you are just printing a larger negative. So obviously, it's not going to be, the sharpest thing out there. I'm sure there are specific papers you can grab or transparency films you can grab, certain printers, certain settings to get the sharpest possible results. But for me, this is what I've done. I've just taken the full-size scan, inverted it, and then printed it on this. Nothing fancy at all. So again, you could probably make this a little bit better, but it works fine for me. Now the 2 images I grabbed are pretty contrasty images. So there's this image right here, and then there's also this one of my brother's dog, Ellie. I wanted to print this for him. Hopefully it's something I can give to him. We'll see how the results look. But basically I printed these off because I just thought these are 2 images that I think might look cool as a cyanotype, but you can use really whatever you want. But for me, I have found that more contrasty images tend to work a little bit better. Sometimes really flat images, they show up really flat in the cyanotype and the highlights aren't strong enough. So that's why I went with these, but your results may vary. If you do have different results, definitely let me know. I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm just sharing my results. But in order to actually get these on there, you have to lay the negative directly over top of the paper and then expose it to light. And you want to make sure it stays good and flat and stable actually on the paper. That way you have the best and sharpest results possible. So you can do this with a contact printing frame, which is probably the easiest way to do it, and the purists will say it's the only way to do it. You can also just use any kind of old photo frame. So I had this 10 by 13 laying around the house, and I just grabbed it, and it's a little cheap frame from Hobby Lobby, probably $10, and I just put the negative over top of the paper and then kind of taped it down the corners to make sure it was good, and then I just put it in this frame, and I set the frame out in direct sunlight on the back porch, and that's it. That kind of hurt. One thing you want to do is make sure that you kind of angle the contact frame basically in the same way as the sun. So if the sun is all the way over here, you don't want to have it, facing this way where it's coming in at an angle. You want to kind of make sure it's facing directly the sun and even kind of match it to where the sun is. So if the sun is coming straight down, you want to have it kind of up like this. So just make sure you kind of tilt it directly towards the sun. So just keep that in mind. So luckily today it's bright and sunny, and my dogs were of big help, especially Rusi, because she liked to lay directly in front of the frame as it was being exposed. But the exposure times were pretty short considering we were in full sun. They ranged anywhere from 6 and 7 to maybe 8 or 9 minutes. So a couple of them, varied, just kind of keeping an eye on the print and watching it, and just from experience of doing it, it's amazing to see how quickly the coating will actually start to change as soon as you bring it out into sunlight. And after I see most of the changes kind of start to end and they're much more slow at that point, that's usually my stopping point, and I bring it in, and that's whenever you actually start rinsing the print. So you bring it in and then you rinse it underwater, nice and good, just, no real specific time limit. I think they recommend at least 20 minutes. I do not follow that rule. Sorry. I rinse it off for a few minutes, and then after that I put it in a tray, and then with the tray I actually put water in there, distilled water, and then I add just a few drops of hydrogen peroxide because this just helps with the oxidization, and it really kind of just intensifies that blue and really kind of sharpens up the contrast, the highlights and everything. It just really kind of helps make it pop and flip the actual image. So it's a really, really simple process. Again, nothing fancy, but it's just my method of doing it. I'll go ahead and show you what we came up with here. This is the first image of from the Jackson project that I shot through the window. It's a little dark. I would probably like to have it a little bit lighter, so I might have to kind of alter things, but for the first go, not too bad. And yeah, I like this image as a cyanotype. It just has a really kind of cool look with the older architecture in there. And then also this photo of Ellie, my brother's dog, which I was kind of skeptical about, honestly, because it's a pretty thin negative to begin with. She was backlit, and the light from the door was kind of coming through, and it was really only catching some highlights kind of silhouetting around her there, and really just she has a brindle kind of coat, so it was really, really, really dark in some places whenever her coat was a lot darker anyway. So it's really just the light up here on the brow and the nose and the tongue, and this little catch light in her eye, which I really like. But turned out pretty cool. It's, again, probably not the best choice to make a cyanotype, but I kind of like the way it turned out, and it'll make a nice little gift to give to my brother, so yeah, it was worth it. But that's the whole process. It's really that simple. After you rinse everything, just hang it up to dry, and there you go. You can scan it and share it that way. You can do all kinds of stuff with this. So these alternative processes are a lot of fun. It's just something different to get out of the house, for one, which is nice, off of the computer, and it's a really hands-on kind of process. So it's a lot of fun for me. Hopefully it's something that you guys would enjoy as well. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know, but also if you have suggestions for printing cyanotypes. This is a pretty common alternative process in that whole world. So if you have any tips for these, definitely let me know. If you want to see more stuff like this, more alternative processes, stuff like this, I would be all about it because I want to do something different. So definitely let me know in the comments what you guys think. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. We actually just recently hit over 52 or 53,000 subscribers, which still blows my mind. It doesn't seem real. So thank you, seriously, for watching these videos. I probably don't say it enough, but I really do appreciate it. So I will see you guys next time.